Hi everyone, I'm Edgard Sergues. Today I would like to show you some results and try to answer the question, who needs regionalized life cycle impact assessment, with a specific focus on the Arctic regions. First, let's give some context. Regionalized life cycle assessment is about including local conditions in environmental impact modeling. It was proven to bring more accuracy and realism in the calculations and can influence decision making. The Arctic regions are very specific compared to other regions of the world in terms of climate, biodiversity or culture, which are strongly related to the high seasonality. Also, climate change showed rates 3 to 5 times faster than southern regions, and due to the remoteness of the regions, energy generation highly depends on fossil fuel combustion. When we look at life cycle assessment studies in Arctic regions from the literature, we see that various sectors are addressed, but there is no regionalization of the impact assessment step. To find out how the regionalization of this step should be done in Arctic regions, here we developed a life cycle impact assessment methodology for the scale of an Arctic region, namely Nunavik, which is the northern part of Quebec, shown in red in this map. The development of this methodology was based on the Impact World Plus framework. When we take a look at the resolution, we see that it varies between impact categories. Resolution corresponds to the size of the geographical elements differentiated in each impact assessment model. Here we can see that it ranges from 0.5 per 0.5 degrees gridded elements to continental scale. 0.5 degrees is approximately 50 kilometers. So, the work to do to develop our Arctic-specific impact assessment methodology was different depending on the resolution. For final resolution, it has to be aggregated at the scale of Nunavik. For coarser resolution, it has to be refined. Also, by studying the models, we found out that land use related impact categories of Impact World Plus do not consider Arctic regions yet. The tundra and boreal forest ecoregions do not have their proper characterization factor. First, for impact categories at final resolution, aggregation at the scale of Nunavik must be done. To do it, the aggregation equation as well as all the data necessary are available in Impact World Plus. The only thing to do here was to define the terrestrial and marine borders of the region under study in order to model the relative surface of each geographical element effectively included inside the region of Nunavik. This was done using Geographical Information System, referred as GIS. Secondly, for impact categories at coarser resolution, it is necessary to model several parameters. Based on literature supporting the models, the same data sources were used when available. For landscape, meteorological and demographic data, parameters were modeled from GIS datasets using the borders of Nunavik. Those data are taken from global satellite observations and are used to model the volume of air, water and soil compartments, as well as flows between them. Cultural and health data were extracted from studies. The cultural data are the diet and housing conditions used to model human exposure, and health data is used to relate concentration of pollutants in air to mortality associated with cardiovascular diseases. The substance data for several thousand chemicals must be used to simulate flows and persistence in different compartments. So, the ones in the original model were used. Finally, for land use impact categories, which don't provide data for tundra and boreal ecoregions in their models, characterization factors were approximated. The models here consider relative species richness. A virgin land is at 100% richness, while a built area is at 5%. Nunavik territory is divided in territories of different categories, which were used to define areas of specific richness. Built areas are not visible on the map, as there is very few of it. The orange areas correspond to the land from which food is retrieved by the local population and are considered as extensive forestry. All other land is considered primary vegetation. Other data to calculate and aggregate characterization factors at the scale of Nunavik was available in existing models. Once the modeling was done, it was applied to 2 case studies of energy generation, modeled based on monitored data from 2021. First one addresses electricity generation, comparing the use of baseline power plant alone and with an auxiliary home photovoltaic panel system. Second one is about heat generation, comparing 2 boilers, baseline using oil, and alternative using wood pellets. The newly modeled characterization factors were compared to those of Impact World Plus at country level and global resolutions. Results in this figure show the variation of new Nunavik-specific and country-level factors from the global ones. We can see a correlation between the two former, suggesting that country level brings sufficient insights for eco-design purpose. However, exceptions occur for freshwater eutrophication and land use due to the low concentration of human settlements along the coasts. Also, extrapolation can be done for other remote regions where human population is low. Human health-related categories will show lower values, while land use-related and freshwater ecotoxicity categories will show higher ones. Now, it was also interesting to see how decision-making is influenced in comparative assessments. First, in the case study of electricity generation systems, the variations are marginal, as shown in this figure. This is because of the high similarities in the inventory of emissions in Nunavik between the two scenarios compared. In contrast, for the case study of heat generation, the high differences in emissions due to different fuels leads to significant changes. We can even see that some conclusions are reversed. So now, to answer our question, who should use regionalized life cycle impact assessment? The answer is, it depends. But on what? For each impact category, key indicators were assessed. Impact score and contribution from the hotspot analysis, and identification of best performing system from the comparative assessment. You can see that the relevance of life cycle impact assessment regionalization is linked to two driving factors. First is the variation of characterization factors from the global median value for top contributing pollutants, and second is the proportion of impacts occurring in the Arctic region. From this figure, we can see threshold values above which regionalized impact assessment will significantly affect life cycle assessment results, with approximately 75% on characterization factor variation axis and 30% on impact proportion axis. Those elements can be assessed after the inventory is modeled. So, a procedure could be implemented after the inventory modeling step to assess the relevance of life cycle impact assessment regionalization in your projects. Now, thanks for watching this. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, please reach out to me.